Hi, this is Emily Freitag with Instruction Partners. And first of all, hats off to every education leader trying to develop a reopening plan right now. This is the hardest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I come to you with great humility. I don't know how to educate in a pandemic any more than anyone else, but I did want to bring you the patterns that we're starting to recognize as we work with a number of different schools to try to help them with those plans. So where to start is the focus of this conversation. This is going to be just an incredibly challenging year, of course. It will be volatile, it will be uncertain, it will be complex, it will be ambiguous. The military calls this VUCA. And the stakes are very high and leaders do not have sufficient data to make choices. That is all kind of the foundation of the context of the time. No plan is perfect, but obviously having a plan for what you will do in different circumstances is better than not having a plan. And the simplest templates that we are seeing at this point that are creating clarity for different teams are these kind of dials, these operational dials that link very clearly to the state of virus spread. So the basic idea here is if the virus is in this kind of spread, which some people are linking to phases of the outbreak, like if your county has a phase system, or some people are linking to 7-day or 14-day kind of tracking of the virus. If that is true, then these are the health measures that we are going to be operating with, which includes the ratio that we are going to operate within. And then this is our schedule and staffing plan. And we're not seeing schools have just one schedule or staffing plan across the whole system, but instead prioritizing different grades or subjects that might have different schedules and staffing plans. So the essential idea is if we are in low or no spread, so some people are talking about like if our county is in phase 4, then these would be our health measures. This is our schedule and plan. If it's minimal spread, this is what we would do, moderate, significant spread. And in most cases in the significant spread, that is your full virtual model. And then across all the scenarios, what is our curriculum plan that will allow us to have a continuity of learning? And we are seeing that there really is no way to have continuity of learning across teachers, across modalities, if there's not a common set of instructional materials that are guiding. So a scope and sequence is actually not enough. Having a common set of we're all teaching the same book, we're all teaching the same lesson, is providing the kind of backbone that allows for a student who is absent or out for 14 days to continue their learning, maybe even with a different teacher, and pick right up. Professional development is going to be just so critical this coming year, and really being clear about what are the priorities for PD for content, for the platform and the distance practices, assessment, data practices, culture and social and emotional learning and communication norms. And then how are we going to know if we're successful this year? How will we gather feedback? And at what checkpoints will we adjust our plan? Those are the like common basic components that we're seeing across the different plans emerge as the essential components. And we do have just a very simple Google Doc version of this that we will be posting on our website. What I want to talk about are where are we seeing committees get stuck as they're working through these plans, and what are some ways to get unstuck. The first thing we are seeing is some confusion about the plan and the parameters. So we're seeing a lot of plans that start with like, if we're in minimal spread, then we're going to be doing all in person. But that's skipping over the, if we're in minimal spread, then these are the health directives that we're going to be operating with. And then that leads to the schedule and staffing plan. And the reason that's important is because there are many different scheduling staffing plans to operate within a certain set of health directives. And you may decide you want to change the way that you are meeting those health directives. So we're gonna try this by having an A/B cohort system, but we're gonna reflect at whether that's working or not. The health measures would be the things that you would be sticking with no matter what. That's one place we're seeing people get stuck. Another is not getting clear about who is actually making decisions. So there's lots of decision-making frameworks out there. The RAPID framework is quite helpful to a number of systems right now. Whose job is it to make the recommendation for what we do? Who has to agree to that plan? Who is going to perform and therefore inform the plan? And who will make the decision? And I elevate this just because it is actually so critical to unlocking faster planning. In many cases, we're seeing committees kind of come together often and spend a lot of time trying to work through problems and not feeling like they're making very much progress as they do so, because no one is really quite sure who is making the decision and how that decision is going to be made. So once people have gotten clear about that, we're seeing much faster progress. Next up, only planning for one scenario. So we are seeing a number of places where they are planning for, this is what we're going to do to open, but they don't necessarily then know what they're going to do if the virus gets worse. And really seeing all of your scenarios together can allow you to ensure more continuity. At least having a distance option. So if it gets worse, we're going to be going to distance. And then fourth, not getting clear enough on what will signal each phase. We're seeing a lot of plans where it's like, if it's minimal spread, but not actually defining what does minimal spread mean. And getting clearer about what minimal spread mean helps people really imagine the context of the decision. Fifth, under communicating the process for adjusting the plan. So what I mean by that, stakeholders are really feeling a great deal of gratitude when they hear from leaders, this is our plan and this is when we're going to step back to see if it's working and adjust if needed. And so being very clear about how that's going to happen is helpful because we're going to be in this all year, and those adjustments, being clear that we're going to have to make those adjustments up front is very helpful. So everyone's handling this differently, but we are seeing the sort of first, create the committee, create your vision of success, get clear on these phases and the health directives, determine the components of the plan and who will make the decision for each component. I can show you just a sort of example here. Who's going to decide on the virus parameters? Who's going to decide on the health measures? Who's going to decide on staffing and scheduling, et cetera? Who's going to decide on the tech platform? And then back we go, determining how to engage stakeholders, particularly for the groups that you have prioritized to design around first. And then for each scenario, determine the schedule, staffing plan, check against the physical plant, and then check against transportation. And then last, select those common curricula and tech platform, develop the assessment plan linked to the curriculum, develop your professional learning plan, make sure leaders are clear on their job, final budget. I hope this is helpful. We are continuing to learn. If you are finding any other pitfalls or any other keys to getting unstuck, please share them and we will continue to share out what we are learning. And Godspeed in this planning. This is incredibly challenging, one step at a time together. Thanks.